Spartanburg has issued a flash flood warning for the following counties. In North Carolina, Jackson and Mecklenburg until 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Law enforcement in Belmont reported that the streets of Interstate 85 WAS flooded. To protect yourself from flooding, move to higher ground. To report flooding or any type of severe weather, call NWSGSP 800.
Outages, storm damage all afternoon. So remember, you can stay in the know by downloading our WCNC Charlotte mobile app.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll be back at 2:30 here on air with a live check on the forecast. Stay safe, everyone.
Well, new at 5:30 tonight, CATS is operating without 22 of its light rail vehicles. That's half of its fleet.
And this comes after NCDOT directed CATS to pull the vehicles from service after a light rail operator reported on a defect on one of its wheels. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre looks at the impact riders could feel from this.
CAT says although half of its fleet is out of commission, they still have enough trains to keep the current Blue Line schedule with no disruptions.
NCDOT said, we don't know exactly why that's happening, and therefore we want you to take all of those trains out of service.
22 older light rail trains now out of service for maintenance. This after a defect to the face of the wheel called a flat spot was reported late last month. The car was repaired, but the same issue happened again.
While flat spots are not uncommon, it's not usual to see a new flat spot develop after just 5 days.
CAT's interim CEO, Brent Cagle, says rail maintenance found the wheel had excessive play. It was wobbly when it spun. NCDOT directed CATS to pull those trains from service and investigate the root of the problem.
Until we know exactly why there's some wobbling or excessive play in this one wheel, until we understand the reason why, we're going to pull all of the older ones out of service just to be sure, just to be safe.
In the meantime, Cagle says service will continue as scheduled. The agency still has 23 vehicles and says it only needs 20 for daily operations. CAT says they do not believe this issue is related to the wheel bearing problems that caused a derailment in 2022. City, county, and transportation leaders say safety is not an issue here.
From what I can tell, this is absolutely the highest level of care and concern and protection, given the warning signs that presented themselves that could be undertaken right now.
So this is operationally inconvenient for CATS, but if anything, the last thing you need to worry about is safety. We're very vigilant.
The Metropolitan Transportation Commission did request for NCDOT to come to its next meeting to answer any questions, make sure that they understand the concerns and steps being taken to fix the issue. It should take about 2 to 3 months for all the cars to be back in operation. In West Charlotte, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Today, North and South Carolina workers are asking where's the money as their pay stays stagnant.
Yeah, that's right. More than 20 states are increasing their minimum wage this year, but the Carolinas are not. Instead, staying at the federal minimum wage of $7.25.
WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood joining us now after looking into this concern. And Kaylin, what have you learned?
Well, if you take a look at this map, the states that are highlighted in yellow increased their minimum wages to various amounts this year. The highest increase being out in Washington state, where their minimum wage increased to more than $16 an hour. Now, much of the South, though, not choosing to make that increase this year. North and South Carolina, as you mentioned, remain at $7.25 an hour, which is the lowest you can offer most employees based on federal law. Now, that number hasn't changed since 2009, and some workers and analysts say
this is Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here with meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. Active afternoon. There is still a lot going on right now across the area. We've got a couple tornado warnings just outside of our viewing area, but obviously online we know we got a lot of viewers. This one's up near the Virginia-North Carolina border, so this is going to include parts of Henry, Patrick, and Rockingham counties. near Martinsville up in Virginia. But across the Charlotte area, we've got several severe thunderstorm warnings. And Chris, some of these are what we call considerable, or they are sometimes have a tornado tag. And I know it's a little bit hard because people just see a severe thunderstorm warning, but what is the difference between those warnings?
So the big difference here is you're seeing areas of the orange, and the orange just means that anywhere along that line you could have a spin-up tornado in it. Legitimately, it's about a 2-minute period. I think that's what we saw in Catawba County. And I know the National Weather Service still needs to go out there and survey the damage, but the way that the signature was, we'll show it to you. But all the counties that you're seeing in orange, those ones are going to have that tornado tag. But whenever you're talking about considerable, that's going to be wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. And then the worst severe thunderstorm warning that they have, and we have not seen one of those, is destructive. And that's the one that's going to reach your phones. You're not going to get an automatic alert from WIA on your phone unless it's destructive. But right now we've really seen a range from just your basic severe thunderstorm warning to that considerable damage. That means wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. But it's really outside of all these warnings, and I'm not discounting these. We've seen likely a tornado. We're seeing a tornado warning off towards the north. Yeah. But the widespread wind damage is still bringing down trees, still bringing down branches. And I was just looking at our outage map, Brad, and looking at this, I can see at least bubbles of 21,000, 6,000, and just doing some quick math here, I can easily count over 50,000 power outages across our viewing area, or at least surrounding area.
Yeah, so for North Carolina total, now the total is 63,853, and in Mecklenburg County, you're right, about 2,500. Union County is about 3,500. Rowan County, about 7,000, and Catawba County, about 3,700. So we're seeing a lot of outages out there. If we can go to Weather 1, guys, I want to show you something interesting because, Chris, one area I'm watching, I want you to see these little lines coming up through York and parts of Chester County. There's some of those little squiggles that we had earlier. Look at that, right around Chester. Definitely some rotation there. Little ball of
wow,
wind.
That's significant.
And we'll have to keep an eye on that because that's heading towards Rock Hill and into areas there. Let's switch to the terminal data.
And note the fatality that was reported in Catawba County, that was not a warning storm. That was not even a severe thunderstorm warning attached. This line that Brad is actively looking at is a severe thunderstorm warning, but it's outlined in orange, meaning there could be an embedded tornado. There's so much going on right now that I think it's really tough to pick up these individual tornadoes. So anyone that lives in this line from Rock Hill, further off towards the east to Monroe, just note that you are going to see this line potentially spin up tornadoes, and you're really seeing some signatures here.
So, let's just go ahead, even though we're not under the tornado warning. If you are, like Chris just mentioned, in Lancaster County, eastern York, southern Mecklenburg, western Union County, I want you to go ahead and treat this like a tornado warning. Maybe not shelter in the closet or that location, but get to the middle of your house and just be ready to head to shelter, because the area between Richburg up towards Lansford and just south of Rock Hill, there's some hints of rotation in there. And if you look at the wind speeds in that area, you're looking at wind speeds just off the surface that are, 75, 80 miles per hour. So that being said, you're going to want to be in your shelter location regardless of whether there's a tornado warning or not. Remember, the severe thunderstorm warning by definition means a tornado can and often does form in and around a severe thunderstorm warning. So when you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, you should anticipate that there could be a tornado in any one of those, Chris.
And wind is wind. This is one of our favorite things that we say to you, because realistically, some of these could produce winds at 70 miles per hour. That's a weak EF0 tornado. Tornadoes get, of course, all the spotlight because the amount of damage that you've seen that they can do. But anything along this line is going to have that potential of bringing trees down, and trees are the leading cause of death for wind damage. Come down on people, coming on down people's houses. That could happen in an instant. And usually a spin-up tornado, QLCS, lasts only for a couple minutes. It's not on the ground too long. Now, they can last a lot longer, over 10 minutes and long, and that could have happened in Catawba County as well. But it's going to happen in a flash, and you're hearing the roaring wind also. So it's not like you're hearing a sudden difference. So things are hiding within this, often rain-wrapped as well. Luckily, it's daytime. It's the nighttime ones that are the scariest with this. But anyone along the line, again, naming out, so right along the line around Rock Hill, now especially moving the northern part of Lancaster County, you got to be watching us closely. We're going to let you know. We've been on here before that we've followed some rotation, and then later the tornado warning pops up. So we're letting you know in advance. We've already seen, sadly, an event that was outside of a warning pop up. Tremendous amount of damage. That was in Catawba County. That's the biggest story that's coming out of this. But there's also multiple roads that are closed for being underwater. We're seeing multiple closures because of down trees, down power lines. Thousands of people are out of power already. That's only going to grow, especially if you have some of these embedded tornadoes.
Yeah, and that's what I was feverishly typing there.
Very fast.
Very typing out some information to people that aren't watching the stream. But if you're in a severe thunderstorm warning today, I just want you to go ahead and treat it like it's a tornado warning. We want you to go ahead and get to the lowest level of your home, interior room, away from those outside walls and windows. Maybe not the helmet, maybe not hunker down for that, but just get towards the middle of the house. Chris brought up a very good point. One of the biggest concerns I always have is trees coming down on homes. And I think that's what we're going to see happen in that Catawba County fatality. It's likely going to be a tree that fell on a structure or the structure collapsed on them. So you guys know your homes better than us. Obviously, if you have a tree, a big tree on one side of the house or a whole bunch of trees on the east side, the north side, whatever side that is, get to the other side of the house. Get away from those trees. Get to the middle of the house. Put as many walls and roofs and ceilings and windows and everything between you and the outside to protect you from those branches and trees can fall down. You look at that, Chris, and that thing is spinning up right there.
Yeah, so this is the definition. When we say spin up, it's straight line winds, and then notice how it starts to notch and hook. That was right through Chester. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to get a lot of reports through Chester just for the winds in general as that move through. Sometimes it can be broad, and sometimes they can rejuvenate themselves too. They can go through a cycle, and
wow.
Yeah. So south of Rock Hill, it really looks like in between Rock Hill and Leslie.
Switch to the debris. It's hard, so far from the other radar to tell. But yeah, that area right there between Rock Hill and Leslie, down on 21. Highway 5 there. Yeah, just east of Rock Hill. Might be a little spin up right there. And then you go up into like Cabarrus County and even Rowan County, really strong winds. So that whole leading edge of that line, the reason it's a little more interesting south is that's actually more instability down there. But we saw the northern part of this line produce a tornado already. So if you're watching this stream, if you're watching on our app, on WCNC.com, on Roku, wherever you're watching this, YouTube, Facebook, doesn't matter. If you know people in the path of this storm, it's a good idea. Grab your phone, text them, call them, say, hey, today's not a normal day. I know it's January. We're usually talking about winter weather. This is not a normal weather day. These are severe storms. They've had a history of producing damage, and unfortunately,